Welcome once again, everyone. This is for this afternoon's AGS Prime webinar. This is going to be on the data management solution for the upcoming Good Jobs Challenge grant coming out of EDA. Again, my name is Susan Harden here with AGS. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I want to say thank you for attending today's session. I know everybody's really busy. It's the middle of summer. It's hot. I don't know where you are, but it's hot pretty much everywhere. So I appreciate you being here and being in the middle of probably reporting cycles, end of some fiscal years, beginning of other fiscal years, and it's just kind of a crazy time. So thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules to be here. The learning goals for today are as such. That comes right out of the email invitation. So no changes, no smoke and mirrors. We're going to spend just a few minutes talking about who we are. Let me just introduce AGS to you, a little bit about what AGS Prime is, which is our no-code platform, and how that is used to track and report for the Good Jobs Challenge grant, as well as for some other grants to kind of show you some exemplars of what we've been doing for the last 23 plus years. So I want to show you some examples of some of our compliant grant management templates and what we envision for the Good Jobs Challenge grant. Clearly, those of you on the call know that the feds have put out some structure around the grant as you submitted your proposal for the FOA. But we also know that the feds are not yet finalized as to what those goals and the reporting, the performance outcome measures reporting is going to look like exactly. So we too don't have a completely finished template because we too are waiting obviously for those finalizations. But we are going to show you some exemplars and what we envision this application to look like in order to meet the questionnaire and surveys that the feds, the EDA is going to expect of you for your semi-annual and annual reporting. We'll talk really briefly about next steps to implement AGS Prime. It's pretty straightforward, as you'll see, and then where you can find some more resources and information. So that's kind of the plan. We're going to dive in. It's going to be kind of a quick fire, fast-paced session today. These sessions are only scheduled for about 30 to 35 minutes, so we'll get you out of here on time, go off and do your other tasks. So if that's what you thought you were going to do here today, then you are at the right place. So just a little bit about us. We are federal grant specialists. We, as I said earlier, we have been in business for over 23 years in the workforce and economic development and employment and training industries. We have been in this business for a very long time. We work with hundreds of organizations around the country on hundreds of different grant opportunities. We work with very small organizations, very large projects, national consortiums, single state, single organization projects. You name it, we really run the gamut of the size and complexities of the types of projects and organizations that we work with. We are absolutely known in the industry for providing personal service with one-on-one training. We are a high-tech, high-touch organization, and that really sets us apart from kind of everybody else in the field. We provide unlimited and unmetered administrative technical support throughout the life of subscription projects, because we know things change and people change and roles change. So we are here for you and for our projects, especially around federal grant projects that we know change very frequently. Many of our H-1B and apprenticeship projects that we have been supporting for years, we see the feds making out of DOL ETA, making changes almost on a quarterly basis to both data element requirements, to business logic requirements, and then, of course, quarterly federal reporting requirements to the DOL ETA system, which is different from EDA, but we continually make updates and keep the policy information up to date in our grant templates, as well as that one-on-one available here to help you with a safety net kind of customer service. We work with, I mentioned, a wide variety of organizations nationwide for using our AGS Prime platform and variety of templates for a variety of different types of grant projects and business projects within organizations. And I'll show you some examples of some of those just in a moment. So AGS Prime, what is that? AGS Prime is a no-code, web-based platform as a service, a PaaS. We've been hearing about SaaSs or SaaSs for a long time, software as a service. We are a platform as a service, which may be a new term to some of you, I'm not sure. But it is very much a no-code environment for building simple to extremely complex applications. You will see an example of some of the more complex ends of that spectrum here in a moment when I demonstrate our apprenticeship template, which is, I think, a baseline for the Good Jobs Challenge template. We use our own platform to build out these templates. So there's no custom code, there's no special application development language or languages that needs to be encompassed in your organizations. All of our customers are hosted on Amazon Web Services or AWS. So you start out with the environment, the high security and privacy environment that comes with AWS, and all of our customers have their own dedicated virtualized web server. So there is no commingling of data amongst our customers. So I'll just mention Salesforce, not to pick on them, but they're just a very well-known tool, obviously, in the world. Salesforce is what's considered a multi-tenant environment where we all log into Salesforce and we only see our organization's database and our credentials, right? Our login credentials. We are AGS Prime. This is where you take notes. AGS Prime is considered a single tenant environment. So not only do you have the benefits of being within the AWS architecture, and by the way, our contract with AWS is such that no data leaves the US as it is stored. But your data is segregated into your own domain name, your own dedicated IP address, and your own dedicated virtualized web server, as I've mentioned. So no commingling of data whatsoever. Very important when it comes to the types of grants and projects that we have been supporting for all of these years, where PII, or personally identifiable information, is just part and parcel with what goes on with these grants. So security and privacy is first and foremost amongst our customers, our grantees. So simply start with an idea and build out applications. So pretty straightforward, and we use the same tool ourselves to build these. So you need something to track for the Good Jobs Challenge grant, right? So once again, we are planning on providing a pre-built template or a pre-built application in order to help fast track you're getting started with tracking all of this data. Obviously, the feds expect grantees to be ready to go once you've submitted your proposal and they've gone through their vetting process and you win the award. You want to be able to start tracking that data to be ready for immediate deployability, and for then being able to have reporting, for that very first reporting cycle. And so we are going to be able to, back up the bus, turn your system on, get your training started. We'll talk about implementation a little bit. And then all of these grants are supported with a monthly user group webinar. So we bring our customers together in these industry sectors, if you will, these grant sectors, and have our customers have a community with which to ask each other questions about how is it going, or how do you do a thing versus, what happens when you do such and such, as well as gives us an opportunity to bring everybody together to talk about new updates that we've made on behalf of this particular grant. What updates have we made to the platform, and what updates have we made to the platform and this application specific to your grant? So it really gives us a nice, once a month community, webinar, to build that cohort. So for this grant, we know that you're going to be tracking clients, and those clients, that aggregated data may come, depending upon how you want to implement your grant and the types of businesses and organizations that you're working with, may come in one or two or both flavors, right? You may want to track job placements and details about those job placements at an individual participant level, where we can get demographics about the participants for whom your clients are providing jobs and hiring and tracking all of that. But we give you the option, if you want, to track that level of information at the participant level using a pre-built data collection module or template as part of this application. We're going to see if, just how much participant level data grantees are looking to track. And that may be something new for EDA type grants, where the participant level, the individual human data has not been typically required. But we always provide that kind of a module to give our grantees the ability to track participant level data and the services and the level of effort that it took to get those participants engaged and employed, trained, engaged, trained, and employed for our employer clients. So we also have an employer module that is here to support the demographics about your employers, thus your clients for this grant, the services delivered, details about the demographics and engagements and activities specific to your employer clients, including, of course, job placements, job types, job categories, and wages. So you're going to have both of those modules accessible to you depending upon the deployment of your project and how you envision it and what you wrote in your proposals. You may decide to leverage, one or both of the modules as part of this application template. Reporting capabilities, of course, are part and parcel with AGS Prime. For this grant, you will be able to generate ad hoc queries for every field on every form, as well as we will be able to provide you, this is one of those things that's not yet decided, the performance outcome measures reporting and the surveys and questionnaires that the feds are going to be providing to you to fill in those pre-fillable PDFs. We envision being able to provide you with output that looks just like those surveys and questionnaires out of Prime, where you can toggle over to the EDA provided fillable PDF and just transcribe that data. We've done that before for other types of grants where there was no upload capability, like there is with some of the DOL ETA grants. There's no upload capability currently discussed publicly anyway, for this grant. So we imagine that we'll be able to provide you the aggregated output for you then to type into those pre-fillable PDFs. So let's jump over and spend some time over in AGS Prime for some live demonstration. Let me get to my application here. Oops. There you are. Just drag this over. Okay. So this is AGS Prime. This is one of my demo sites in my domain called demo. Right. So all of our customers have their own domain. That's what that means. That you will pick. You will tell us what you want your domain to be. And so here's my demo site. And this is a demo site for grant tracking and reporting. And you can see we have the name of the application across the top with a variety of different modules, what we call modules. And we have my participant management module. If I just click here, and this is where, as I was saying earlier, you may decide that you want to keep track of participant level data, demographics about the people, the humans who are being hired for some of these positions. That may become extremely valuable information for you as an economic development agency to really understand the demographics for whom you are serving, and or not, as the case may be, and for how and for who is being placed in particular types of jobs. So you might decide that individual level demographic information is important to you. So here's what this looks like, and what we envision this being a part of the Good Jobs Challenge template, where we have a participant profile, the participant being the job seeker, if you will, and be able to track various and sundry demographics about them. This is just my demo site for an apprenticeship type project, where we have this case folder concept. So everything is electronic. So getting away from spreadsheets, where we have lots of spreadsheets and worksheets in a workbook, right? We now have this electronic file cabinet almost, right, in which we have these case folders for individual participants in keeping track of their program enrollments and all of the services and trainings and assessments, skills gains, things that may or may not be particularly germane to the core of Good Jobs Challenge. It may be good to have, nice to have bonus information for you as tracking, again, level of effort and a more rich picture of who are the job seekers that your employer clients are hiring and retaining. So we have our employer management module, as previously discussed. Once again, it's an electronic file cabinet for all of your employers. In my demo system, I have 3 employers. I'm just going to open up the ABC Construction case folder, right? This is the employer management case folder for ABC Construction. Imagine getting up out of my chair and walking over to the file cabinet, right, and pulling out the manila file folder for ABC Construction, walking back to my desk and opening it up. And in that file folder for my employer client, I see a demographics or a profile. I see all of my activities and contacts, a real CRM like environment that, by the way, is going to be tracking the individual data elements required to calculate or compute the aggregated information for 916 and 917, and maybe even 918. For the surveys and questionnaires that you are going to be required to report on. So for example, I'll open up my employer profile record. So this is not intended to represent a completed template. We're still waiting for more information. And we will flesh this out to be exactly what is required to track that individual data element data to produce aggregates. But we know for sure we need to associate this information with a staff person, the name of the client, their engagement date, when did they come on board as an employer client. We obviously need to have their EDA grant number. That's a required field. So you can see this is a required field that's asterisk with a little pink box. So we can see visually what fields are required on the form and what fields that are required have not yet been filled out. And we can see that this field is blank, thus it's still pink, right? Compared to engagement date that was also required, but it's been filled in. And our save button is not live. So like all of our grant templates where we help you be compliant to the grant for compliance reporting, which is why you're here, to get a compliant application that's going to help you track the data, track the right data, so that at the end of the reporting period, at the 6-month mark or the annual mark, you as the grant manager can click the magic button and have the aggregated data produce the report for the pre-fillable PDFs the way it's supposed to be. So we're going to have fields that are required on these forms, and if they're not filled in, data entry cannot be saved. We're going to expect that data entry is done correctly. So the forms and the fields will help drive that data entry. So all of the information that's going to be required for this grant does not need to be memorized or known to your employer customers, your employer clients, but the application. Let computers do what computers are supposed to do, right? Take the technology off your critical path and just manage the process, recruiting employers, right? Keeping your clients happy and getting them successful, because that's going to be your success factor as well. So we can see we need to put in our NAICS code, industry types, just a categorical field here based on the values, industry sectors. We know that's critical for this information. Census tract is a field that is a desirable field. We are certainly seeing more federal grants, both EDA and DOL, who are now hoping and soon to be expecting that census tracts will be documented. If you're serving an employer or a client that's the entire county, the county is the census tract. So we'll provide business logic around this in order to help you keep track of that census tract information, which is going to be a really nice to have as you are reporting back to the feds and be able to satisfy one of their, not just the required, but the desired information as well. Just wanted to point out this couple of things around employer demographics. We're going to then be able to keep track of contacts so that as we are working with our employer clients, we have a baked in CRM that's going to help us manage the relationships and garner information with automated emails and messaging, keeping track of our primary contacts for doing, quickly being able to export data, do mass emails or whatever, and that you might want to do. You want to just focus on your primary contacts. It's a very sales tracking kind of an activity. Check on my employer folder again. And we have employer activities. And of course, in the employer activities, we're going to help you keep track of all of those employer categories that will continue to get fleshed out. So if I select financing and investment, for example, we'll provide the additional budgetary fields. They're going to be expected here for your aggregated reporting on the reports. And so on and so forth regarding any of these employer activity categories. And when it comes to employment, so I'll go over to my create new. So we can have as many of these documents as we need to for our employer contacts. A very key thing that we're going to want to be able to keep track of is job title uh, connected to industry sector. If you want this associated with a participant, again, we're going to give you that opportunity. If this is not something that you as the grantee want to be able to tie back to an individual participant, then that won't be on the form. But we put this here for demo purposes to really help you, envision, how complex you might really want to make this. It's totally up to you. Um, So we know that wages is a really key aspect here at the detailed level, and you're going to be able to keep track of with your employer clients as many employment fulfillments or job fulfillments as is needed, and your employers can fill out this data if you want to extend that to them in a secure fashion, and they can fill this in and keep track of wage information, which again just produces that detailed data for the aggregated reporting. So let me talk just a little bit about reports. I'm going to skip admin for the moment and jump over to reports. So again, in this particular example, demo application, I've got a handful of different canned reports. You're always going to see in AGS Prime grant templates a couple of different types of reports. You will see, as a commercial product, canned reports that are pre-built, they're parameterized, they're pretty, right? And they're predefined based on, the particular grant. You will also find queries. I'll just click queries, where these are really just data exports. Everything is designed to be taken out as a CSV file. We always provide templates with a data dump, if you will, an export for every single data set in the system, along with a handful of pre-joined, if I can use that term, pre-joined data sets based on our 23 plus years of experience in supporting different types of grants, where we have a reasonably good start of the kinds of joined data sets that customers want to be able to see in order to help you tell your story. So you'll see pre-built reports, you'll see canned queries, if you will, that allow me to export the raw data. Every single field from each form is available here. And then you will see dashboards. Dashboards are simply individual reports. This is an individual report, and this is an individual report, combined or mashed up onto a single presentation that we commonly refer to as dashboards, right? They're really individual data visualizations that are brought together into a dashboard. And this is just a simple example of services and demographics by gender. I have an ability to have a drop down if I want to segregate the data, then update the report based on that particular. Well, of course, it was working perfectly in my when I did this earlier, to be able to have parameters that work and be able to segregate data in a variety of different ways. So those are really the three types of reports. Let me jump back to my reports and show you what I mean regarding pre-filled reports. I'm going to go ahead and click on this is an H-1B quarterly performance report that we provide for some of our apprenticeship grantees around H-1B grants, if you're familiar with H-1B grants. And this is a report that our customers rely on for their quarterly performance reporting data. And you'll see when this pops up here in just a second here, that we have designed this report to look, it's laid out exactly the way ETA 9173-H1B with the OMB control numbers, et cetera, lays out exactly the way the feds have designed this particular report. So we have been doing creating these kinds of canned, compliant, federally compliant reports for years for a variety of different grants. We expect that when the feds have finalized their reporting requirements, that we will produce for you reports that behave much like 917, that will produce reports that give you these kinds of fields, coming out of Prime, where then you'll be able to just pre-fill this. This is just, from the FOA, that will provide you with the data to transcribe into these reports. Just a quick example. Other kinds of reports that we see very typically is things like a services dashboard. Imagine, if you will, you wanted to be able to track this with costs and some of the other key attributes that may not be part of a required EDA reporting, but that you want to be able to report internally to your own boss or to additional funding sources to really expose how well you're doing on this project and use it for additional grants. So that's what I wanted to demonstrate for you over here in our demo application. Last but not least, because this application, it comes as a subscription, you are able to build additional applications on top of the platform, in addition to the Good Jobs Challenge template that you would subscribe to. So in my domain, I just give you a picture of a variety of different applications that I've built here in my demo site that just kind of give you a feeling of, oh, I could build other applications as part of this platform as a service domain. So each one of these cards represents another application. Here's the application that I was just demonstrating. So let me jump back for implementation really briefly in the minute or so that I have left. It's very, very straightforward. We try to keep it as simple as possible. Once you decide this is what you want to do, we'll provide you with a one-page order form. You'll give us whatever domain name you want. It'll be the name of your project or the name of your organization, for example, .agsprime.net. So anything in that prefix, it can be whatever you want. We'll probably immediately go ahead and get your application administration training scheduled. We like to do two to four 2-hour sessions with your application administrators to make sure that you know everything there is to know about your application administration and AGS Prime, so you can be administrators and have local control, right? And then I'll talk you through what your go live process is. If you have end users or organizations to on-ramp, I can help you talk through some of those different strategies and some of our lessons learned that we can bring to the table. And then you'll be ready to go live. That's all there is to it. Very, very straightforward stuff. So with that, I do want to say thank you. I'm going to go over here and check my application and see if anybody has chatted in anything for me. And I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. So I will, again, say thank you very much for being here. I think there is an evaluation form or a survey that pops up at the end. If it does, I'd certainly love your feedback. And if you would like to spend a little bit more time instead of this sort of this jog through session that we just did, if this is of interest, or if there's others in your organization or other folks that you know who are waiting to hear in their Good Jobs Challenge, for which you think this would be a good opportunity for them, here's my contact information. Please get in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you. My job here is, customer support and customer relations and education. So anything I can do to help, that's my job. So I appreciate your time. And with a minute or so that we have left, does anybody have any questions that you want to chat in or unmute yourselves? Okay, well, I will take that silence as a no. I appreciate your time again. Thank you very much for your time and for your interest. It was my pleasure getting to speak with you this afternoon, and I will talk with you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.